Do you think it's possible to start a YouTube channel faceless?
Yes, I do, but you have to rely on editing. And there's another thing that I think is really important, and it's
Alex Parker monetized a faceless YouTube channel in just about 90 days and has since scaled to over 2 million views channel-wide. If you were to think about packaging rules, what are 2 or 3 rules that you maybe live by as a fellow creator?
Lately, I've really been thinking about emotions. How can I make somebody feel something from looking at this thumbnail or this title? And there's a couple, staples, I think, of YouTube that are always going to work. People are not explaining things. They're telling you things, but they're not telling you why.
What got you to the 1,000 subscriber and 4,000 hours of watch time threshold this quick? Welcome back to the Think Media Podcast, the #1 show bringing you unfiltered tips for building a profitable YouTube channel. Today, our guest monetized a faceless YouTube channel in just about 90 days and has since scaled to over 2 million views channel-wide. Alex Parker is the creator behind Afterlife, a YouTube channel that offers in-depth analysis on both classic and modern gaming franchises. And Alex's signature video style is undeniable at this point, becoming known for its polished commentary, highly produced flavor, and it's just standing out in his niche and is currently averaging around 80,000 views a video. And to top it all off, Alex is actually a fellow coach here at Think Media. So I'm stoked because we get to unpack not just his story and lessons that he's learned, but also pull from his experience as a fellow coach doing this each and every week for creators that are serious about growing on YouTube. So Alex, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, Nathan. It's really good to be here. It feels weird hearing all that stuff because I don't really think about it in that way. I just try to make good videos and get depressed about the 10 out of 10s like everybody else. So it's hard when you put it in that context, you're like, oh yeah, that's not bad. So no, I appreciate that introduction. I'm happy to be here. Hopefully I can help somebody with their YouTube journey in this conversation. And that's really all I got right now.
Hey, let's go. Well, I'm pumped. I really actually don't know what Think Media was thinking by letting us 2 coaches run around here on the front line.
That's their fault. We don't take responsibility for anything that happens here.
That's right. Whatever happens with this conversation, man. Okay, well, let's dive in because I truly think this will be an incredibly helpful episode for folks. So, okay, let's jump right in. You mentioned you were monetized, at about 90 days. That's crazy. And I did a little bit of nerdy research. It looks like on average, at least the data that I could find was about 1 to 2 years for a channel to get monetized, even if it gets monetized. So what would you say, what got you to the 1,000 subscriber and 4,000 hours of watch time threshold this quick?
Yeah. So this is a bit of an interesting story. So this channel was actually my second channel, and it took me about 4 years or so, maybe a little less, 3 or 4 years to kind of figure out how to make a YouTube video. I was trying so many different things. Nothing was working. I would try news, then I would try a guide, and then I would try a review and try this and try that. And I never stuck with anything. I just thought, well, I'm doing the same thing as X creator over there. Why isn't it working for me? I'm doing the same thing as Y creator over there. Why isn't it working for me? Then I hit this style of these retrospective analytical pieces of content, and I put them on my first channel, and they did pretty well. But then I started working at Think Media, and this is where I'll answer the question. And I got a lot of questions from students saying, does YouTube hate channels with 0 subscribers? How come I can't get monetized? How come this isn't working? So I just took a couple of those videos and I put them on the other channel, and I released them 1 month at a time, every couple of weeks, to see if a successful video would work on another channel. And it didn't for a while. Actually, I was getting no views on them for the first 2.5 months. And then I posted this 5th video on my upload. It's called The Real Problem with Voyage of Despair. And that video hit the algorithm and it took off. And then the whole channel got monetized overnight, basically. So from the one video. And then people started pouring back into the back catalog and watched, video number 4, 3, 2, and 1. And those are some of the most popular videos on the channel. But I had kind of already started working on this series, and I just had a backlog of content. I started kind of putting it out there, and it just hit. And so it showed that consistency is important. Sticking with series is important. Don't give up after one video. And what's even funnier about this, if you go look at my first channel and compare the videos to the second channel, I actually have more views on the second channel than I did on the first. So the videos are even more successful after doing a re-upload and repurposing of the content, which I just found to be fascinating. And I did this as an experiment. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to roll with this channel as like what it's defined as now.
Wow, huge. Okay, that's really cool. I didn't know this was an experiment for you to do this on a second channel. That makes this whole conversation that much cooler. Okay, so literally from scratch. I mean, sure, you had a previous experience, the other channel, but this channel was monetized from scratch in 90 days. That's really, really cool.
I wanted to prove to the community that it could be done.
Wow. Okay, point proven, huh? That's really cool. Well done. Well, hey, I wanted to ask really quick before we go further. It's probably a good idea to identify, like, what's your working definition of a faceless YouTube channel? Like,
yeah, that's an interesting question. I actually never really thought about it, to be honest. I in the gaming space, the way that people tend to do reviews and stuff, they just have a lot of gameplay and footage of like interviews or whatever. So I just kind of followed that model. I'm really influenced by a channel called Skill Up. He makes such amazing content, but my definition of a faceless channel, I guess, is just being able to express yourself like visually, have some sort of visual representation at every kind of word or every paragraph or every like section of your video to keep attention. And I think that face channels with personalities in them as the forefront, I don't think they're bad or anything. I try to do it every now and then, but it's low key. I just think that gives you a little bit of a, this is going to sound like a negative word, I don't mean it this way, a little bit of a crutch. And so you can space out other visual representations in your video by putting your face in there in between to maybe add some emotional conveyance or zoom in, crop in, whatever. You get a little bit of wiggle room in order to make editing a little bit easier. It's not that it's an easier job overall, but just in the context of, I always have to come up with something to show on screen. And if it doesn't visually represent it, I won't use it. So that's not the most clean definition, but that's how I perceive it.
No, I love that. That's actually really insightful, even for me, just like fellow coach, thinking about, because just keep it real, like there is a stigma around faceless channels. And what I love about this conversation already is what you're sharing is this could be a method of going about this whole YouTube thing in a way that actually might be, number one, better for the audience you're trying to serve, but also for you as a creator, because let's keep it real. A lot of people getting on camera is tough. That's probably one of the biggest bottlenecks is I turn on the camera and I turn off. I don't even know what to do. I don't like how I look. I don't like the whole process. And that friction, I think, stops so many creators from even publishing a video. So what, for you, I'm curious, what had you go faceless? You mind if I ask, like, was that something you intended from the beginning, or what had you decide to upload videos in that way?
That's the straight answer is I suck at improv, like on the camera. So when I'm better at it now, actually, having worked at Think Media, I got so many skills from having to send videos to clients, and I'll touch on that in a second. But the main thing was I would turn on the camera and I would start trying to like share my thoughts in some sort of coherent manner. And I just couldn't do it. And I found that when I scripted it out, I was able to write better, use language that was more descriptive, extrapolate or condense ideas in a much more streamlined fashion. And so for me, I was just like, well, it makes more sense to just have make faceless content, because that's kind of what the audience enjoys, and I'm just better at it. But like I was saying, when I started working here, a light bulb clicked off in my brain when I would send videos to clients and I would be giving them tips or whatever. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a YouTube video. This is the same flipping thing.
Yes.
And that really was a huge mental unlock for me. So I'm much better at talking to the camera now. But in the early days, if I didn't have a script, I was, as the kids say, I was cooked. I couldn't do it. So
wow. Okay. This is actually great, because I think what we've already done, it's not even been like, whatever, 7 minutes into this podcast. And I just think you've freed at least a few people listening.
I hope so.
You know what I mean? Like, because what you've just said is, oh, there's another way to do YouTube videos that doesn't involve you showing your face. That's just really cool. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, I have a follow-up question though, is what is this faceless approach? Like, who is this best for? Is this really best for someone? Like, how do you view this? Is this best for someone who's like, okay, camera kind of intimidates me, it's just like, I don't really get it yet. I need more reps there, but maybe you could start in a faceless way, or, just thinking about the level of other skills that are required potentially in terms of editing. How do you make the stuff on screen interesting if you're just starting? So like, do you think it's possible to start a YouTube channel faceless? And if so, what are maybe just some brief, prescriptions you give to folks?
That's a really, really, really good question. So I would kind of give like a couple different answers. The first answer is you have to rely on editing. Like it has to be engaging in some way, shape, or form, especially if you're trying to make an evergreen topic that is going to last years for the audience. You have to hone in your editing skills. I would probably say, in terms of putting in the reps, maybe don't worry about that right away and try to do something that's a little easier. So just to use gaming as an example, since that's what my channel is about, a lot of commentary channels who like to keep up with the news and the hot items inside of the community, they just put up a game of them just playing, and there's like little to no editing other than maybe a tweet on screen or a news article headline. So if you are in the context of maybe covering some sort of news information in your niche, maybe find just news clips or footage that you can talk over, and just to get the bearings of like what it is that you're doing. But I don't think this particular faceless content is, how do I want to say this? I don't think it's void of being, I don't think it has to be just gaming. I think it can be in anything, because there's so many channels out there that do faceless content, and they have such clever editing style, and I'm like, oh, I would have never thought to do that. But they are trying to figure out ways to keep you engaged, and some of them just have photos. Like they'll just have photos, but they're moving and they're highlighting text in certain ways, and I'm like, oh, that's so brilliant, and it's keeping me engaged the whole time. So I don't think this is just gate kept by gaming or anything. I think it can span into anything, but you do have to learn how to edit. And so I don't know. It's not that I would not recommend it to a lot of people, but I would say if that's an area you're struggling with, maybe just try keeping it simple, or maybe going on camera is a skill that you'll have to learn as well. Like you got to kind of pick your poison. It's going to be hard either path.
That's good. Reps will be required either way. Man, well, I know that I'm stoked because we're going to pop the hood on your editing workflows and scripting and all that stuff in just a little bit. But I want to loop back first to this video and that initial success, the 90-day period, monetized. I'm assuming hundreds of thousands of views on that video over a pretty short time span.
Yeah, it has like 98. The one that got me monetized has like 98,000 views, but the backlog is what really set things on fire. Yeah.
Incredible. Okay. So let's, like, all of us parachute in really quick to your world in that moment, where, like, I just keep curious because all of us creators have, we keep at this. We try to get a little bit better each time. You reach that moment where an upload did something that most of your other videos didn't. More views, all the stuff. What did you do? like how did this happen? Did you wake up and you saw that, oh, this video is doing something different, or was it a slow burn? I'm like, how did that happen?
No, this video I uploaded it, and within like 3 or 4 hours it started taking off. And people were like, this channel has 15 subscribers. How is the quality so good, or whatever? And then they just started, like I said, rolling into the backlog, and they were like, this series it was a game called Black Ops 4. They're like, this Black Ops 4 zombie series is incredible. Like, how have I never seen this? And it just started snowballing. And then eventually it kind of peaked with the 7th video in the series, like hitting almost 400,000 views. Like it just kept growing and growing. But like I said, it was calculated. I had a series. I had honed in my editing skills over years. So it's funny that you're like, what did you do in this moment? It's like, well, I spent the last 4 years waiting for it, kind of like, and working towards it, not really anticipating it, just trying something to feed my own curiosity in terms of the community. Like, why does YouTube hate small channels? And it doesn't. You just have to hone your skills, put in the reps, and work towards flushing something out that audiences are going to enjoy.
Wow. Okay. So there's something that, Sean says a lot around here, right? Which is a rising tide lifts all ships. And I can't help but think that this is what happened. I mean, this is why no video is wasted, because what you just said is mission critical. You had several videos up to the one that popped off, but because it did, it brought so many people into your world. Like we always say, you're one video away. And it sounds like that's what you experienced. And because you had other videos that were a part of your process to get there, guess what? Those videos got views as well. And I'm sure as those videos grew, they're reaching a new audience. And now just about your whole back catalog up to that point, I'm sure is starting to work for you in a sense where they're bringing people in to your world. I'd love to hear about, you and I as coaches both know, well, I like to think we know, have learned, maybe that's the better way to phrase it, that there's just some parts of the video creation process that deserve a little bit more effort or a lot more effort, especially now, where we're at with YouTube. So I'm curious what that initial success, did it teach you anything about, I'm just thinking about, titles, thumbnails, structure to your content. What was so special about that video as you look back at it now?
Well, I think the kind of overarching thing I learned, and this is something I talk about in content planning all the time, is I tried to make sure that every review or retrospective that I was creating was posing some sort of introspective question. So just for example, like the video was the real problem with Voyage of Despair, why Blood of the Dead was doomed to fail. Did this fail the community? How this crushed hope? Like I tried to take a feeling that was occurring in our community, the niche that I'm in, and distill it into this video. But what I do inside of my videos is I not only I review all these things and break it down, I try to set up and subvert expectations in the video based off of my own opinions. So just because I pose this title doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So we're posing questions. We're seeing, did this actually happen? Was it overblown? So I try to like take people on this journey, and that was like such a big unlock for me, was having a conversation with the audience, and to kind of loop back in making videos for clients all the time. That was such a huge unlock for me to see, like, I need to be talking to people. I'm not talking to myself. And like I said, so posing these questions, simplistic thumbnails that I think are beautiful. I mean, this is a preference. That's not going to work for every niche, but I like simplistic thumbnails that really represent something from the game that makes it iconic. So those are the types of things that I focus on. And if you look at my channel, I don't know if people are going to see it on screen or whatever, but you'll see that I try to keep things clean and concise to represent an idea.
Man, I'd love to park here for a second, if you don't mind, Alex, because again, just as coaches learning, when we're working with people, I think one of the biggest areas, one of the highest return areas for most folks who are trying to do this YouTube thing seriously and just get more views than they're getting, is to reallocate how much effort you're putting into the video, to like the content itself, which matters, but trying to like shorten that a little bit and put that effort into the front end of the video, because there's this hierarchy, right? There's like this hierarchy of viewer decisions almost. And I love how you said, oh, I'm not talking to myself, I'm talking to somebody. But every long form video has to go through this process. And it's somebody, a person, right? Has to click. I mean, period, full stop. Like that's it. Like someone has to click before we even enter into your content. And then they have to stay. So they click, they stay. We hope that they keep staying in that video. And then we hope that they watch more. They go from our video to another video. Hopefully it's ours, but even if they just go to another video, that's what the algorithm is seeing, right? And so the key point I want to, say for everyone, I'd love to hear how you work through this with people every week, is I'm just thinking, man, if we don't win those first two decisions of someone to click and to stay, right? The first beginning of the video, no one ever sees the rest. So no matter how awesome the rest of the content is, right? So I think the strategy is our planning should mirror that decision hierarchy. If we know that it starts and stops with someone clicking and deciding to stay longer, you would think, oh, the way we think about our content, I actually want to put a lot of effort up front. I really want to think about the title. I really want to think about the thumbnail. And then what I'm doing in those first few seconds really matters. So you already walked us through a couple gems of strategies, right? But before we get into that, I'm curious, when you think about the whole conversation, what have you learned so far from your own content, and then just working with people every week? Like, how do you approach this subject of really title, thumbnail, first 30 seconds? Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, like I was kind of saying before, like I really try to get them to think about what what core concepts or topics they want to expand upon it, like really deeply. Sean always says something that cracks me up, and I know he's saying it like half jokingly, but it's really true. He's always saying, when you're thinking about your niche, he's like, I want to ask you, like, what is the purpose of your life, and thinking like really deep existential questions. And it's I know he's being a little bit facetious, but it's accurate. Like, what do you really have to offer about this stuff? Like, I just don't like making videos for the sake of making videos. I really like to explore certain ideas, and so I try to get people to think about that when they're coming up with topics, because otherwise they're just making a video for no reason, and it's not going to get views. It's going to demotivate them, and it just kind of sends a spiral in the opposite direction. And so I don't really like that. So for me, I try to think, okay, like, what are these core pillars that I can make content about? Okay, I have a back catalog of games that I can look at and review and do retrospectives on. There's current stuff I can do reviews about. There's news. But when I go into these topics, I'm like, what do I want to say? What do I have a voice here? Because if I don't, then I'm probably not going to make the video. And I guess as far as like hooks go, I struggled with that for quite a while. So just a pro tip for people, I started going to other creators that I was really, really influenced by. And I just took their transcripts and I copied and pasted them into Google Docs. And then I just wrote my own based off of that. Ninja. And that's what I did for the video that popped off. And I mean, it worked. Not saying it's going to it's like perfect, but it just helped me understand, like, this is how you condense ideas. This is how you visually represent things. I have something to say here. Yeah. I don't know if that really answered the question. I'm trying, but it's a very nuanced and layered thing, and it depends on the niche and stuff. And some topics are a little bit more surface level than others, and that's okay. Not everything needs to be a deep dive like I do, but I just want to, like, kind of hammer into people's brains, like, what do you have to say? Like, what is coming from your heart in order to help these people, in order to have the conversation with them? And if you're really struggling with that, then maybe it's like, this topic isn't ready, or maybe it's not a good topic to begin with. And it's okay to, like, say no to ideas. It's okay to put them in the trash, or rework or recycle them or rework them. You don't have to do every little thing that comes to your mind.
Oh, wow. That's huge. I'd a couple things there. You dropped so many gems. When you think about, so your process is you're already editing before you even open up your, Google Doc or wherever you start outlining and brainstorming. It's like you're revising from the beginning, just asking yourself, is this even a video I should make? Like, I love that. We should challenge our ideas more often, because I also see that, right? Like, being in the coaching trenches with you, it does seem like people, will just make anything and everything. And there's something to be said for, like we say, just punching fear in the face, pressing record and just taking action matters so much. But there comes a point where we need to move from intensity, right? Of just, let's do it, let's get after it, to intentionality. And I think that what you're talking about is circulating, like, right there. So I'd love, we're going to move into your process, if that's cool, because you're a wizard at this. Your views are, your videos are averaging like 80,000 views a video. Clearly you've mastered the ability to get your audience to your videos and get a lot of your audience to your videos. But before we shift gears there, if you were to think about packaging rules, if you were to give out just to the listener, all right, hey, look, your videos aren't doing what you want them to do. What are 2 or 3 rules that you maybe live by as a fellow creator, but also that you find yourself saying consistently as you coach?
So a few things that I think about whenever it comes to packaging, and I'll speak for titles, thumbnail, kind of all of it at once. I think about, lately, I've really been thinking about emotions. How can I make somebody feel something from looking at this thumbnail or this title? And like, for example, there's a video on the Think Media podcast where we were interviewing Kayla, and it's talking about, like, how she turned this business into something magnificent or something. I think it's something like, maybe it's Stay at Home Mom, or maybe that's another one. I might be getting things confused, but there's a video up there, and I'm like, man, I bet you there are so many stay at home moms now, just like so jazzed up from reading that title, and it jazzed me up because I'm thinking about them, right? Yeah. And so I try to think about that. Like, how am I wording and structuring things to make somebody feel something? Because there's so much gobbledygook. I don't really know what word to use out there on the internet.
Yeah.
Garbage content. Not trying to be mean to anybody, but there's so much out there. There's billions of seconds of content being uploaded like every minute or something. It's crazy. So you got to make people feel something. I really try to think about that. Also, recognizability. Understand that your audience isn't you, and so you may be more hardcore into something than somebody else. Like for example, maybe you're like a cooking channel or whatever, and you throw all these niche references in your title and your thumbnail and stuff. First of all, nobody cares. And secondly, nobody's going to understand. And they're just going to see like this video, this like essay of text in your thumbnail and a title that has all these SEO stuff in it. And they're going to be like, what is this video meant for? So you got to strike that balance between emotionality, SEO, and kind of figuring out the best way to, and this is the last point, is to like visually represent your ideas, because your thumbnail and your title, this is a little cliche, but they pair together in my mind like wine and cheese. They're not the same dish, but they pair together. So, we have a video that's, how to make blueberry muffins. We don't want to put how to make blueberry muffins in the thumbnail. We want to put like grandma's secret recipe or something like that. So it just works together. It might not be the best example, but I think people will understand what I mean. So visually represent. Is it clear? Not super hardcore with the insider language, and then emotionality. Those are the things that I really have been thinking about a lot lately.
Oh my goodness, you just cut to the heart of I think what's really working on YouTube right now, to just keep it real. Like, and no matter the niche, if you're applying emotion, the recognizability, or and the visual representation for the kind of audience you're trying to go for, it's huge, right? Man, well, hey, let's jump into your content creation process, and we'll kind of dive right in. I would love to hear about how you come up with ideas for these videos that are getting just tens of thousands of views. Like, that's a normal thing for you. And I don't know if you're listening and you're like, wow, okay, maybe I have a business, maybe you're not faceless or whatever. It's just like, there's a lot to learn about at the front gate, so to speak, just a few minutes ago. How do you figure out what ideas to make? What idea will be successful? What's that process look like for you currently? And by the way, a really helpful tool when it comes to validating your ideas so that you're actually going to be spending your time making a video that's worth creating is vidIQ. We love vidIQ. We've used vidIQ so often, especially as coaches around here. We love their Outliers tool, which is a tool that surfaces videos in your niche that are kind of punching above their weight class, so to speak, that are overperforming, so that you can spot repeatable ideas fast. So if that sounds helpful, we set up a 30-day trial for just $1. You can head to vidiq.com/think to get started.
I'll say on the front end, there's a couple, staples, I think, of YouTube that are always going to work, which is why I heavily lean into the ASQ method and thinking about a lot of stuff that Sean's taught inside of VRA of, a review is always going to work, but I try to make it my own. Reviews are going to work. News coverage is going to work. Topics, kind of breaking stuff down in the community, is always going to work. But like I said, I really try to lean into posing what is my perspective? What can I say about it? And I try to think about the community side too. So like when I'm going through a script, and I won't get too granular here, sometimes I get a little riled up in my scripts, and I want to be a little bit maybe meaner or aggressive if I'm angry at something. But I try to think, is this going to be like off-putting? So I'm trying to think about how I phrase things and all this sorts of stuff just at the front end.
I think this ideation piece, though, is critical, right? Because what you pull up in your timeline to edit, the thumbnails you're going to create, the title brainstorming, it seems like this is the linchpin. If you get the idea wrong, good luck with your thumbnail, title, and editing, right? But if you get your idea right, this is something that a lot of people are interested in, that I should say that a lot of your people are interested in, your audience. This is just what they're asking for. This is what they need. This is really going to help them. And if you can verify that, well, now, yeah, let's go for it. Let's burn the brain calories to think about all these other parts of the process. But just to keep it real, this is probably the biggest tip so far among the number of gems in this conversation already, whether you're faceless or whether you're not, whether you're considering it, whether you're a business owner, is when it comes to YouTube and doing this YouTube thing, it starts and stops with ideas. I've heard it said before, we're in a war of ideas right now, because man, you can sure mess up, a good idea, sure. But I'm still a firm believer. You could have a great idea for a video, and even if your packaging, the way you did the title and the thumbnail, wasn't the best, and your content could have been punchier or sharper, or your hook could have been tighter. Like we see this all the time. The video can still do well. And it may not be the best objective piece of content out there, but because you just had such a good idea and you did your best with it, man, people found you, right? And people watched your video. But man, I sure know it's a lot harder to try to make a good idea work, and trying to take a bad idea, something that no one's even really interested in, and then trying to think about how you're going to title that thing and and put the thumbnail on it and then outline content on something that no one even was really going to benefit from. I just think we could save a lot of energy as creators if we spent more time really sifting through the best idea. I'd love to hear about, okay, so you talked about you kind of are learning from, call them competitors, other channels you look up to. And I think a lot of us have those. It's just part of why we're interested in this YouTube thing. Oh, there's someone else doing it. Oh man, I know for me, it's in the music niche. Oh wow, there's other people teaching music production. I mean, that means I could do it too, right? But how do you help your students right now in coaching? How do you recreate successful videos? Like, what's the process for? How do you look at a video that you could take on your own voice, of course, but you want to take a shot at it? And I think a lot of us are too scared to. But maybe if you could help break down some barriers, just let us into your world. How do you go about recreating successful videos?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that. I want to quickly add something to what you were saying about the idea part. There's another thing that I think is really important, and it's understanding what you don't want to make. I think a lot of people they get these ideas, oh, I could do X or Y series, or I could try X or Y video, and they've never even made it. They don't even know if they like making it. And I just want to kind of give people the permission. Like if, for example, in my niche, there's a lot of people that are covering Call of Duty news every single day. I think that's stupid, to be quite honest. I don't want to do that. I don't hate my fellow creators that do that. If they want to go for it and they want to cover the little news updates I have no interest in doing that whatsoever. So I automatically know that daily uploads are not for me. I already know that going in. So just allow yourself to say, like, I don't want to upload every day. I don't have a freaking team. That's okay. It's okay to do that. Now, I have another issue with how slow I am. We can talk about that failure later in this video. But I'm just saying, give yourself a little bit of permission to say, I don't really want to do that. That doesn't sound like something that would work with what I'm trying to build. But as far as like coming up with a perfect video recipe, shameless plug, I really, like I said, I'll take script ideas. I look at thumbnails from competitors. For example, I've been working with a lot of clients content planning lately, and I've been having them just send me their scripts straight up. And I'm reading them, and I've been noticing a common theme that people are not explaining things. They're telling you things, but they're not telling you why. So they'll give you a very surface level answer or dialogue, but they won't go into it with depth and with nuance. And there's a video I think it's on the podcast. It's like, if I was going to start a channel in 2025, here's what I would do. And inside that video, Sean's very formulaic, but in such a good way that you can't even tell unless you're like a nerd like us. But he starts with his hook, and then he talks about the first R, and then he gives you examples on how to solve for it. He doesn't just say, he doesn't say, oh, this is research, bye. No, he's telling you how to research. This is what you need to do. And so I people out there, like, tell people, give them the actual resources, give them the actual information. Empty platitudes are not really going to serve your audience. They might feel good and they might make people feel warm and fuzzy for a moment, but if they don't have any tangible goods that they're leaving with from the video or resources that they can extrapolate from, you're kind of hurting them. Now, in the entertainment, hurting's a little bit of a strong word, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. In the entertainment space, like where I kind of live, I'm giving a review of stuff to let people know if it's worth their time or money. But I'm also trying to make it a little bit more palatable going down. I don't make things super black and white. I try to make them nuanced and explain both sides or explain why things are not living up to the way they are. So I really think explanations is just a very simple way of saying you probably got to dive a little deeper than you think.
I love this power up, if I call it that. This is a total power up as a content creator, not just telling, but explaining, dare I say, even demonstrating, like actually trying to really help the person, depending on your niche, of course, but burning the brain calories to go a little bit deeper. This kind of ties back. I know Sean had told both of us, Alex, that, we had Gary Vee at one of our events the other year, and he was saying that we're kind of in this landscape of rigor. Like rigor is required for the content creator of today, because we are no longer in the zone of you just kind of post something, not a lot of thought, and it does
That's
something.
over.
Right? That's over. We are no longer there. And so now where are we at? Well, like we just said before, it's about battling ideas. It's about having something to actually bring to the table, having experience to draw on, so that when you put a video out there, that's just a really good point to bring more value. How could you, when you're outlining the video, like right there, think about, okay, now how could I explain this? It's a good question for people to filter through. Okay, what am I telling? Which isn't bad, but then how can I explain what I'm talking about? And then how could I demonstrate even? Is there some way I could do that? So off of that, let's jump into your scripting process, your outlining process, because your videos are longer, obviously in nature. But I'm curious about how you plan them out. Do you plan that out? I'm assuming you plan that out before you record because the nature of your content, but do you write a detailed script? Do you have like,
yes,
okay, already. So we're like, yes, it's detailed. Do you speak off the cuff at all? Or is it something that's word for word?
It's a pre-planned off the cuff. So I will inject it in the script, like you can go ad lib here or whatever, and I'll put some bullet points. But I don't really do that very often. But basically, when I'm writing my script, which is 2D, I try to remember that the video is not, and that took me actually a long time to wrap my head around. So a lot of people will forget about transitions. A lot of people will forget about layering inside of your video. So for example, if there's like something I'm talking about, like let's say for example, there's like an epic boss fight. Like I will make sure that the music for that boss fight is underneath what I'm talking about. I want people to feel the feeling of what they were doing when they were playing it while I'm talking about it. I'll use sound effects from it. And so I try to, this is a little high level. I'm not trying to make people feel like you do not have to do this. I'm just saying that I really care about the emotional aspect of it. So I'm trying to remember that video is I don't know what the right term is, but it's like a multi-vector communication device. I get to show you visual stuff. I get to show you from video to photo to sounds. The only thing I really can't do is make you smell stuff, which is probably good. So I'm constantly, while I'm writing, I put comments like, do I want to put a meme here? Do I want to put sound effects here? And I have it all layered out to like to the period of exactly what I want to say, how I want to say it. I put YouTube links in there of what I want to use, when I'm going to do clips, how I'm going to yell. I really because I want to turn off my brain when I'm recording the audio and just read and focus on the performance. I don't want to think like, oh, what did I mean by this? So I just get all that junk out of the way, focus on the performance, so that when people are listening to it, because they're not seeing my face and my expressions, I really have to be dialed in on the radio man, and really be dialed in so people can feel and hear my expression. And then I also do that with the layering of visuals and audio cues.
Wow. Okay. So that 2D versus 3D, I mean, I like want to write that over my next outline. It's just like a guiding principle. That's so good. So you're saying that I'm assuming you're not using a teleprompter, or are you? Or are you just reading off your script that you write?
When I'm doing a faceless video, I don't use a teleprompter. I made a video not too long ago where I used a teleprompter, and I do a similar thing, but it's not something I do commonly. No.
Okay. So it sounds like the preparation, it's almost like this script is your anchor for everything you're doing. So because you're not just outlining what you're going to say and what you're going to explain even, right? You're actually putting in almost, it sounds like editing cues. You're like,
Yeah, 100%.
this video inspired me for this section, voiceover or cut or a B-roll or something. Like you're actually jotting all that down. It's all in the same document.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Has that always been your approach?
It wasn't as rigorous as it is now. It's actually gotten like less rigorous and more rigorous in certain scenarios. Like now I think I know my voice a little bit, so I'm not, I used to write like 5 drafts per video. And my videos are long, so that would take a lot of time. So I've stopped doing that, and I'm just like, I think the first cut is probably good enough. I reread it, don't get me wrong. I don't just, I make sure it makes sense. But usually at the first, second draft is where I stop now. But the details that I put in the video, I'm looking at a script right now. It says like montage, and then I have comments surrounding that. Like, do I want this section to really be here? I'm going to use a South Park meme at this section. Like I have all that stuff pre-planned because, like I said, I want to get into the audio booth, you know what I mean? And lay it all out. And then when I get into the editing space, I don't want to waste my time editing. Like I want to get that over with. So I like editing, but editing a 60-minute video every like couple weeks, it's a grueling process when you're working full time and doing so much content stuff a lot. I want to get that over with as quickly as possible. So I figure if I just plan it all out, I can have the skeleton of the timeline in Premiere, and then I can just fill in the gaps, and I don't have to really spend a lot of creative energy figuring out what I want to do.
Wow. So you are essentially giving your future self a successful handoff.
Yeah.
Like from the very beginning, like in your scripting process and outlining, you're giving the editing version of Alex, right? When he clocks in and it's his time to work on the YouTube video, it's like, oh, cool. This is what previous Alex told me. This would be a good idea. And so you're saving and conserving energy all along through the video process. Sounds like through this master document that's like housing all direction, not just what you're going to talk about, but actually how the video is going to exist when it's uploaded. That's just crazy. If you are getting any value out of this so far, please hit like, hit subscribe, let us know, because we're just about to, keep going in this masterclass of content preparation and creation, 2D versus 3D, master documents, setting yourself up for success. All right, you ready for this? I would love to ask you about AI. And not to like be crazy controversial, but I just knowing you and working with you, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong right here in front of everybody, I believe you had not been using AI in your process for quite a bit. So I'm just curious if at this point, are you using AI as a part of your process or not yet?
This is a little bit of a complicated issue. So,
all right.
I want to tell a quick story. Hopefully people will find this funny. So no, I was not for a long time, and I still really don't, but I'm trying a little bit more just for expediting the process. But funnily enough, like you are hearing, I spend so much time with these scripts. I put my metaphorical blood, sweat, and tears in them. Yes. And I posted a video in early February, and for some reason, the comment section had it out for me, and they all thought that I wrote the script with AI.
No way.
And because I like to use a lot of big words, I don't like to repeat myself with the same words over and over. So I will use a thesaurus to make myself say other things, because I don't want to. I've noticed I repeat myself a lot. So anyway, they all thought I used AI. People made a Reddit post about me, started saying, we thought Afterlife was cool. His scripts have gone downhill. He's using AI. He's unoriginal, all this stuff. And I don't normally get mad at comments, but it got me. It got me. And so I kind of made a vow to, at that point to never, do it or whatever. And especially when I'm coming up with the authentic thoughts of what I believe and feel. That being said, because we use it at work so frequently and whatnot, I've tried it a couple times, but it doesn't really work for what I'm doing. I can't come up with, or maybe I just don't understand it. And maybe Sean's noob. I don't know. But from my perspective, I'm trying to come up with these nuanced opinions about a very niche thing, and the AI can't play the game, and so it doesn't understand the context of where we started and how we've ended up here and why things are good or bad, and community feeling and how I feel. And so I can get AI to I can put my scripts and be like, hey, can you give me a summation of kind of what I thought in my voice? And it does. And I can take it and unpack it and rewrite it, but then I feel like I'm just wasting time unpacking it and rewriting it. So I'm like, I might as well just write it myself. If I'm coming up with some sort of like tutorial or guide or, you know, listicle of something, I can see it being beneficial, but it just, I don't know. I just haven't figured out a way to integrate it properly in order to help me make it work. Sean's probably like, oh my gosh, kicking himself right now. But
Sean's going to comment down below.
I know. He's going to unsubscribe from my channel. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man. But this is actually a really good conversation. And now kind of we're just for a second, a couple coaches talking shop, but I've been thinking about, okay, AI is incredibly useful. You're right. And Think Media, I mean, shout out to Sean, who really is leading from the front. Like we are adopting AI. Just about all of us at the company are using it each and every day for our roles in some capacity. But I've been experiencing a similar thing to you, Alex. And like as coaches, there's things that we do right inside of our coaching where it's not just meeting with people. We lead workshops and trainings and stuff like that. And so that's content that we are creating right for our students and for the people that we're coaching. And I've been realizing AI doesn't really, well, number one, obviously it can't replace you, but it can't replace your experience and your expertise, right? And so shout out to the coaches here. I mean, I just think we're Avengers, you know, and we've all have our own channels and been through a lot to give us the experience that we have now. So when we're thinking about planning a workshop, I've been experimenting a lot more with not using AI to really get me off the ground. Like, let's get myself off the ground. You know what I'm saying? So like if you are a content creator, ideally you're following the Think Media principles. We say, hey, make it easy on yourself. YouTube's hard enough. You should probably be creating videos in a field, in a niche where you have some sort of skin in the game, where you can really talk about something like Alex was just saying, you could really explain something, you know? And so I've been finding that AI has been a much more helpful tool to refine things, maybe help me catch a blind spot. But it has been proven unfruitful if I am going to AI without kind of going to myself first and just looking at that blank piece of paper and being what content creators have been for decades, right? Where it's like, okay, what are my ideas? Where do I want to go with this thing? And kind of sketching stuff out. That's just something that I don't think AI can really do for you. You need to create your content, and it can be a helpful tool in aiding to refine things, maybe catch some blind spots. To your point, just like you, thesaurus is a tool that you used, right? Yeah. To help your process. I view it about the same way. I don't know if you have any follow-up there, but been thinking a lot.
I mean, so for example, I don't know if it was the last video I did or what, I can't quite remember, but I took the hook and I put it into AI, and this is just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying. And I said, shorten it or whatever. I asked it to do something to tighten it up and make it more punchy. And I was like, maybe add some more SEO or something. And it cut out all these little nuances that helped lead into other ideas to explain things. And it didn't understand the context of like why my phrasing of that was important. And I just don't know how to navigate that. Yeah. So if there's a way to, and somebody in the comment section can tell me, come on, please let me know. But I, as a individual in this current context of how AI works, I almost use it as more of a, like when we're doing content planning, we're like, what are the best golf ideas based off of SEO and trends and and we do all that stuff that we do. I get flooded with ways of how to present the information and how to talk about it. But as soon as I start asking, AI to give me the hook or the whole idea in a way that matches my expression, I just feel this disconnect. And so I don't know how to navigate that quite yet. And I feel like I'm learning it as a creator. And so I will show it to clients and explain it to them like, hey, this is a really, really, really good foundation. But remember, we need your voice on this. We need the coat of paint that is Bob or Stu or Mary or whoever,
100%. That's a really good point. And I'm sure that, man, we have some AI wizards, even at Think Media, who might hear this and be like, oh, well, you might get a DM, Alex. I don't know. Who's like, hey, well, you just try this.
A DM with it says, hey, please sign your letter of resignation.
You were too outspoken about your, no way, right? But it is a good conversation because this, obviously, AI stuff is changing the game. But I do think at this, it is the responsibility of the creator to find the balance between how you're using it and then also how you're trusting yourself. Because if you want to create content, you have dreams of a different lifestyle, dreams of a business, dreams of getting into the YouTube partner program, or just whatever it is, that's like in here. That's a heart thing. And man, AI is, artificial intelligence. We've been talking about like the emotional capacity is just really low. It doesn't have your vision built into it and stuff. And so I think it's a good conversation. And man, hey, I'm glad that we're here together because we just get to keep figuring things out and try to navigate it. But I'd love to keep moving on into a pretty potent section. I'm pumped about this because you really are, man, just like I would say a wizard at you can tell, phrase it that way. Like when you watch one of your videos, that there's a lot of thought that has gone into it, and you can really hear that. You can see it on screen. Just almost like the overall pacing. There's like the cinematic feel almost even from the thumbnail and stuff that I was just picking up on. And so let's talk about editing. Understanding we have listeners who are probably at varying levels, right? Beginners, scared of editing, people who love it, people who outsource it. I would love to hear about your journey with editing your YouTube videos. Maybe start there. Have you always edited your stuff? Are you still editing your stuff, or is this something you outsource?
I just hired my first editor for the last video I just posted. It was like a gameplay thing, so it was like a good test for us to kind of figure out how to work together. For my reviews and retrospectives, I do that all on my own. I would love to hand it off one day, but it's not that I fear that nobody can do it. I'm sure somebody can. I just know it's going to take a lot of time to kind of dial it in. But yes, I do edit my own videos still primarily, and I guess I'm looking at the doc here. It says like, what's your approach? And my approach is simplicity. Have you ever seen one of those images on like Google or whatever when you type in like editing timeline or whatever, and it's just this crazy timeline with like 4,000 layers and little clips and boxes and like
yes,
it's madness. My timeline does not look like that at all. I don't want that because that is just a cause for a brain aneurysm. I try to keep things so simple, and I, like you were saying for the cinematic stuff, that is true. I do try to do that. But I really, really care about making sure what I'm talking about matches what I'm saying on the screen. That's it. That's my whole motto, is what I'm saying matching what I'm talking about. And I go through that through the entire video, and I have it down a lot better now. It took takes time to figure out what works, but I just want to make sure that I'm representing what I'm talking about. And so I will go on YouTube and I will download videos, and using the 4K downloader tool, or I'll record them with OBS or a screen recorder, and I will put them on if I need them. I clip things to try to make sure I'm saving time. And like, I don't know. I just really try to keep it as simple as possible. My timeline has max like 5 or 6 layers at the most. And that is just counting. I'm counting text too. So it's like, it's probably only 3. Like I keep it really, really tight.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Just because of the way your content comes across, but simplicity is your key. And I love that that's a great test of, in what I'm showing, right? Is that what you said? Is what I'm showing mapping to what I'm saying? Like, are those connected? Yeah. So that brings up a couple questions here as we start to land the plane. What are some best practices for the showing part of that? I'm just thinking about B-roll. I think B-roll is a conversation. It's an editing tool. I think a powerful tool for a lot of listeners, a lot of different niches, to incorporate more of that, to help people, to help show the viewer what someone's talking about. And so what are some best practices for B-roll? Especially, I'm really curious to hear from you, just because, making mostly faceless content. I mean, that's essentially, I'm sure that's just about what's showing up over the whole thing, is like being really diligent about what you're choosing. So what's some advice you'd give to people about choosing B-roll?
Yeah, it's tricky. For channels with, who are showing their face, I will say, like, I still think this is just as important. It's just you have some leeway. So like, for example, if I'm giving a review of this controller and I'm talking about it, and I'm talking to you, like, and I'm talking about the buttons, like, I'm not just going to go, oh, the buttons or whatever. Like, I'm going to sit down after I make this video, look at what I talked about, and go and record the buttons. Like, I'm going to do that. So that's be just as literal as you can with showing what it is you're talking about. You don't have to like hide things or wait till the end to show it off or whatever. Like, just tell the audience what you want to tell them. As far as like finding the B-roll myself, you guys are going to think I'm nuts, but like when I'm talking, one of the hardest parts in my videos when I'm talking about the art design of any particular game. So I'm trying to give a little bit of an example here. I will actually go into the game and like film it cinematically. So there's certain like glitches you can do where you can like break the camera out of the character and go through and record it. So like I'll record that stuff. And because I want to show what the world looks like and I want it to look beautiful. So I go through slowly and pan around like I'm, holding a camera and a gimbal. And I can't be as specific as I would like to in that section, but it broadly is generally representing what I'm talking about. So there's like levels to it. Like, it doesn't have to be word for word. Like, I went to the store and it's like me in the house and then me in the car and then me at the store. It doesn't have to be like that literal. Like, you could just show yourself driving to the store, right? It's so there's layers to it, but I try to be as diligent about it as possible. And
you think it's more off that real quick? Do you think it's more beneficial to create your own B-roll as a content creator or borrow from these libraries?
It depends. I mean, there's a channel named Mark Manson. He wrote that self-help book, The Subtle Art. Yeah. I won't complete the rest of that. And so he actually uses a lot of that B-roll from, story blocks or whatever, and they are using AI B-roll. But the content is so good, I don't think people care. So there's nuance and layers to this. Like, if your value is so good, and I tell this to people all the time, like, okay, you're faceless, you're not faceless, whatever. It's like, if your content is so good, it doesn't matter if you have B-roll, like, you're sitting pretty. But if you need to have that balance like I do, it's like, well, you got to figure it out. So for me, it's almost like a brand thing at this point. And I probably will never stop doing it because I want every section to feel distinct inside of my video. When we're talking about atmosphere, I want you to feel the atmosphere. When we're talking about doing puzzles, I want you to feel the chaotic nature of going through that. And so on and so forth. So I know it sounds cliche, but like, I keep every path I take, it goes back to what are we feeling? I always go back to that. Maybe it's not going to work for everybody if you're more of a pragmatic channel, but I still think that there's a resolution even for those people, like how to hang up. I know Sean brings up like how to hang up a picture frame. Well, if you're frustrated on how to hang up the picture frame and somebody's going to tell you, you're going to relieve that stress. So I still think there's an emotional component, even though we're logically like feeding through these systems that we create. Oh
man, that's huge. I'm curious. Have you ever had any copyright issues? Just with using a lot, footage from other things. You said downloading videos. I'm just sure that's a question how do you handle that?
Music is where you're going to get a lot of those issues. Not so much with video, but it depends. It depends how it's implemented. So there's a great video by, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. It's like Tom something. He's a huge YouTuber from the UK. If you just type in like Tom copyright on YouTube copyright law, he's a famous YouTuber. He has like millions and millions of subs. Great video explaining how this all works. So you have to basically just make sure you're transforming the content. If you're just taking a video and ripping it from, Dr. Phil or Think Media or whatever, like, you're going to get a copyright strike, and you deserve it, by the way. But if you're taking it and utilizing it to justify your own positions or to critique, and you're trimming it and you're moving bits around and there's stops and starts, and then that's a different video entirely. So music, though, is the hardest thing because the major record labels don't like to really share that type of stuff. So you got to be careful. But you can use it. Like, I have an Avenged Sevenfold song in one of my videos and it's playing, but I had to make sure that I manipulated it well enough to not get noticed. So there are workarounds, but it's just you got to take a little bit of time.
Gotcha. So there's not been anything major so far that you've had to deal with, or claims or anything on your.
No, more so the like monetization stuff where they're like, there was a blood in your video. I'm like, yeah, it's a zombie game. Like,
this is a good conversation really quick though, because I think I know that goodness, we get this question a lot around copyright issues. It's something that I find a lot of creators are concerned about. And if I may lovingly call some folks out, it's like concerned about something where there's no videos nothing's been created yet. So it's like, and I understand. It's like I would be the same way, wanting to try to get the path figured out and overcome all obstacles and clear the road before I go down it. But this is one thing that I hear, especially if people are like, well, can I use other people's content? Isn't YouTube just going to shut me down? And so it's just encouraging to hear, from a channel that is dominantly faceless, where you're literally using footage and music, and you're putting together this whole video, right? That's long and has a lot of stuff that, you don't own yourself, but that you're putting together in an original way. I mean, it's just encouraging to hear. How do you coach that too, by the way? If someone's talking about copyright issues, like, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's a non-issue personally. The whole idea of copyright just comes down to, are you stealing it or not? So if you're not stealing it, and you have taken the content and this is a literal law. Like, I don't know if you guys know who H3 is, Ethan Klein and Hila Klein. They're two huge YouTube creators from the OG days. And they actually set the precedent for this law in YouTube. Like, their case is the one that set everything in motion. So you are allowed to take other people's content, break it down, manipulate it, turn it into something else. And as long as you're doing that, there's no issue. If you are just taking it and uploading it and playing it for minutes and minutes and minutes on end without changing a thing, that's just stealing. So that's where the line, now there is a little bit of nuance, and like certain people don't even want you to use their stuff, but you have a legal right to do it. So if somebody might go after you, that's a different conversation, but that doesn't mean you broke the rules. So I do think it's a little bit of a non-issue. It just depends on how you're implementing it. And if you're implementing it in a negative fashion, you're just going to get in trouble. So I try to give examples. I'm like, how do you think these big podcast channels are so successful? Like, they would be in copyright jail if the mentality that these young creators have was actually the reality. They're reacting to videos, they're bringing TikTok clips, Instagram clips, YouTube clips, reacting other podcast channels, bringing up stuff from people that don't even have anything to do with anything. And it's like, they have 3-hour-long episodes and clips of those clips reacting to those clips. And it's so meta. It's actually its own ecosystem. So I actually think it's like I said, it's a non-issue, and you're actually kind of missing out if you're not implementing and entering into your community. I look at it as you're stepping into this space and sharing ideas, talking about what that guy talked about. It's like the digital town square. You see Billy Bob standing on a box of, apple crates or whatever they're called, yelling about something. And you go over to Susie and you tell her, well, did you just steal his idea by telling her? It's like, no, you're just explaining and showing stuff. So that's how I look at it. And I try to explain it to people in that way, but it does take a little bit of priming and practicing to get over the hump. And I'll be the first to say, I leaked gameplay from a video game before it came out, and I got copyright struck, and I couldn't do anything for it was 90 days, I think it was. I couldn't really do anything. So, but I did it. Guilty as charged. Like, it was my fault. I was a new creator. I didn't understand. But if you manipulate it properly, you should be good.
Man, it's a really helpful conversation. So the theme is obviously educate yourself on how to go about this. And that was just a great mini masterclass on how to maneuver that. But also just just do it. It's I've something that Shauna said that always resonates with me is just create chaos. Almost like all these what ifs. Well, what if copyright happens? What if nobody watches? Well, what if my, YouTube channel gets taken? It's like, go create the chaos that actually earns you the right to have those concerns, because you've actually built something that could be threatened. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just do the thing and then let's talk about that. But the longer we sit here and talk about stuff, I love how you said it, that are non-issues, the longer we're just sitting at the same stage, no videos published, no momentum happening. Man, Alex, I just appreciate this conversation. I have a hunch, because I'm the same way. A lot of us creatives are. Do you struggle with perfectionism? Just wondering if
yes.
Yeah. Actually, we should just let that play like that, just the silence.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to say, nope, actually, I'm good. No, but perfectionism, the reason I bring that up is not just because you're a creator, but also because of the kind of content you make. Like, it's almost like I get it. It's harder for me to sympathize or empathize with people who are like, man, I don't know if it's good enough yet. And there's no work being done. It's just like, it's an excuse to just wait. Maybe you could argue differently, but I would sense that, man, if you're actually debating something in your timeline for the video, for an idea in your master doc with your script, it's for good reason, because you put out high quality stuff. So how do you manage that? When do you know when to call it a quit, or when to call it quits? Like, how do you balance making a video that's good enough, to press publish and then move on?
I don't really know how to call it quits. I struggle with this really heavily. But I will say, just to explain how heavily I struggle with this, and I'm gonna give an example of why it's so ridiculous. So I made a video one time and it was nearly perfect in my mind. But sometimes when you're watching stuff on the timeline, it makes your computer work hard, so you might not see everything properly. I watched the video back on YouTube and I noticed that at one point in my gameplay, I had paused for a second so you could see the menu for like a millisecond. And I literally deleted it and re-edited it and fixed it. Like 2 frames. I just paused it, I hated it because I was like, I want to look back at this and realize that it's perfect. Like, that's what I kept telling myself. However, when I go back and like look at my previous content, I start to realize like, I don't even remember how I did that. Like, I don't really remember what I did. What was I thinking at that part? Like, did I do that? And I'm like, why did I waste so much energy and time being frustrated? And I don't even recall the event. So I think you just kind of got to let go. I'm not saying being a perfectionist is bad. I'm saying that being this like hyper vigilant, detailed oriented person that can't ever just let it go, that's just going to get in your way. So the more videos you make, the more detached from this you will become. And that's why I started bringing on an editor to do other stuff, because I know that if I keep working this way, it's just going to hurt the channel. And I think the hardest thing for me as a perfectionist, because I have a pretty good vision of what I want the video to be, so I just try to hit that goal. Maybe the goal is really absurd and maybe I could lower it a little bit, but I actually have a problem with the getting started part of perfectionism. I just keep thinking, man, I have to write a 7,000 page script. I have to do all the editing stuff preemptively. I have to go get the footage. I have to call my friend to help me. I have to blah, 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 blah. And that's where I get bogged down. So I don't know if that's like inverse perfectionism or procrastination. I don't really know what you want to call it, but knowing that I feel like I have to be perfect is where my wheels start to spin or stagnate, or whatever word you want to use.
Wow. I actually think that's the startup is most difficult, just to get moving. Is there anything might want to share? What seems to work most times for you to just start? Like,
I lie to myself and I say, just write one paragraph. I literally do that. I just like write one paragraph. And then if you really don't want to do it, then don't. And I used to kind of be like, oh, you're going to write one paragraph, that's going to trick you into writing more. And I kind of like psyched myself out, but I was like, no, just if you only want to write one, then just stop. So I really started doing that and giving myself the ability to say no to my own startup, if whatever word we're using, it makes me just okay to keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really the hardest thing for me. It's like, just do the hook. All right, you did the hook. Go watch, I've been rewatching NCIS lately. So go watch 4 hours of crime television after this, or whatever.
That's a fair trade.
Yeah, that's a fair trade. 15 minutes of work for a 4-hour break. I think that's fair.
You heard it here first. This is the prescription for overcoming perfectionism. But actually, all jokes aside, I really like that. Like, lower the bar. Yeah. Lower the bar. Yeah, just do this one thing. And then sure enough, yeah, that is like a mental trick. But I also love how you were like, no, actually, just literally, I'm going to give myself permission. Let's just do the hook, or just write the thing, research a video, write a paragraph. And if I want to keep going for a minute, cool. And if I'm not, I'll come back to it. Like, that's actually a very freeing mindset, I think, to have. Along those lines, I'm just curious, a lot of listeners are doing this YouTube stuff in spare time, not full time. And I'm curious how you specifically have navigated building channels, number one, around something that you enjoy, right? Which I think a lot of us are trying to do. We want to build a channel around something we enjoy, that we're good at, we find value in, that we want to share with other people. So that's one half of it. But the second half, I just want to call out specifically for you, for me, represent any other, I don't know, coaches or strategists. It's like, it's one thing to try to do that with a day job, which is very real. But when your day job has you in the same world as what you're needing to go home and create after work or before work, it's a different kind of mental tax, where I've just felt this before. Well, I've looked at 17 thumbnails today. Like, I just don't really want to work on mine. It's just like where you're in that same headspace. And so it can be hard to disconnect. So in some ways, I've actually been thankful for in the past when I've had a day job. I've learned to be grateful. Hindsight's 2020, where the day job is actually a whole different part of my brain because there's a little bit more active rest going on, it seems to be. But I would I'm curious. You do have a day job. Yes, it's here at Think Media. Yes, you're coaching and you're in this YouTube thing. And I just want to affirm, listeners could be like, oh, that's a dream. You kidding me? If I got to just do YouTube all day, how much more could I do for my channel? I just want to put up a stop sign real quick. It ain't that easy because you're in the same headspace all day.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that, man?
That's a good question. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say. It's not that we're so blessed here. We have so much freedom and opportunity to work with cool people. And, there's a lot of flexibility in our schedules and stuff like that. We really do have the dream job. I'm not even going to deny that for a second. I'm so grateful. Every quarter I try to DM Sean to say thank you. Because I don't want to forget, because it gets easy to make your new standard your standard. It's hard, man. Working in content planning with people and then looking at their scripts and rewriting them and coming up with their ideas. And not that they don't do anything, but it's being a part of another channel. I feel I'm part of 15, 20 channels.
Agreed.
And so when I get to my channel, I'm I just kind of don't really want to do this right now. But I just try to think what else am I going to do? I have to. And I'm in a little bit of a different position than a lot of people on the team where I'm not married. I don't have kids. So it's what is really my excuse? I don't really have an excuse other than oh, my brain hurts a little bit. It's okay, well, go take a nap, drink a Red Bull and get to it. And so I know it's a little pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And I know it's a little of a bit of a meme, but it's just, it's just really hard to be creative for 8 to 10 hours a day with other people and then go right into being creative with yourself. And so I am navigating how to really balance that and be able to tell our team hey, I can't take any more clients right now, or can we work on something where I can try another project, or I'm trying to figure out ways to navigate it. And everybody on our team is amazing. That, and they're always willing to help. So I try to take a little bit of a break after work, maybe watch 4 hours of NCIS and then write for a little bit before bed and stuff like that. It also helps to get up early before work and try to write then. So I have prime creativity for myself, but I don't want to be selfish either. So it's I'm in a rock and a hard place, but these are good problems to have. So all I say to people that are trying to navigate through this stuff is just figure out when you're going to be at your prime. I'm a night owl, but I'm also kind of creative in the morning. So I just kind of set those times aside to do this stuff. When it comes to editing though, editing is I have tunnel vision. I just I can't stop. So I actually have to set it up to be okay, Friday at 5, I'm deleting Brian from my phone and never talking to him again until Monday, right? I just have to lock in, and I stay up till 5 every night doing it. I'm just all in on those days. So it's a little bit unhealthy in some instances, but I think, Lord willing, if it ever goes full time, or I don't even know if I'd ever want to leave Think Media, to be quite honest with you. It's just, I'm sure it would be a little bit more healthy, but the working the job and doing it, you just have to figure out how much free time do I have? How can I utilize that to eat, to do my laundry, to do all this stuff and be creative, and make sure that you're setting the most prime time creative spots for you to get it done, and do your best to not make excuses. I know we're all imperfect, but try to not try to really carve it out and try to take it seriously, because I am so slow at making videos, and it's because of the procrastination. It's because of kicking the can. It's because I'm like, well, maybe if I just play one more match, I'll have more footage. And it's like, did I really need to do that? Probably not. And that's another 3 hours gone. And it adds up so quick by the end of the week. That free 15 to 30 hours you could have had is gone after, a couple NCISs in the game. So that's just how I try to look at it for me personally. And I just want to give people like the permission to not like hate yourself for it. It's just try to do your best for real.
Oh, it's so good. Well, man, I really appreciate you just kind of being real there. And I can affirm too, just actually witnessing what I really would still say is your work ethic. Like, sure, I love how honest you're being, man. I really do. And that is just your style. Like, you keep it real. And this is why so many of our students need you in your coaching style too, is you keep things real. And it's an incredible benefit to not just the people that you coach, but even to your team members. And so it's just fun as a coworker here to be able to hear you say what you just said, and also just get to say here in front of whoever's listening, it's actually legit. I know meetings that we've got on where, catching up, hey, how was the weekend? Or what'd you do? And you're like, I mean, you're working on your video. You're like, it was a late night. And I've heard you say that, and yet still showing up just faithfully with, all the duties here at Think Media. And so I just want to say, like, for you, just hats off, man, for real. There's a lot that I admire about you and getting to work with you. But then also for the viewer, just to say, own your season. That's what I love about what you're doing. You're just like, yeah, the reality is, okay, no wife, no kids, like, I got time. And you're using that, and you're building a schedule. Okay, sure, you could argue isn't optimal and healthy, maybe long term, but it's like, this is what it is now. And this is what you're making the most of it. And you're taking time as you can, letting yourself procrastinate when you need to, and then letting yourself just get after it, crack a Red Bull. And so anyway, I just thought that was really cool. Just wanted to point that out. And I go, no, actually what you're saying is legit. I've seen it firsthand. So
thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, 100%. Well, hey, if you're still listening here, we are, I said we're going to land the plane a while ago. So already Sean is rubbing off on me, but I do want to say, if you are struggling with any of this stuff, you're doing this, it's a part-time thing. And maybe, or just, we had quite a conversation, man, just gems on gems, content planning, editing, just all kinds of stuff. If you're at all interested in, linking up with Alex or linking up with me, and we got several other coaches here that would just love to hear about your situation and where you're at and what you're experiencing. We put together this call that you can get on. It's completely free. If you go to viralvideocoach.com, you'll just get to link up with a team member, and we'll look at your niche, look at your channel, look at your schedule, and help strategize your next steps. It's a free call, right? There's, no strings attached. You can hop on and be like, hey, here's where I'm at with my channel. Here's where I want to go. Would some sort of, higher touch coaching be a good fit for me? And just want to invite you to do that, because, man, we'd love to hang out, because we really get this thing, and we'd love to come alongside you. So, Alex, I'm all right. I need to put my money where my mouth is. We are landing the plane. So I would love if you would just shout out, if you want to, just where could people find your content if you wanted to share, and then we'll kind of just move into maybe, hey, what's one thing you would offer if you were to coach listeners right now? Just people who not only feel like they're stuck in a faceless grind, on YouTube, but even just people who are in the YouTube grind. Yeah. What's one thing that you'd encourage someone to try out in their next video?
Yeah. Well, so my channel is Afterlife Analysis, and then I have a podcast, Afterlife Podcast. You can check that out if you're interested in Call of Duty content or gaming, or just want to see how the sausage is made. Feel free. If not, that's okay too. As far as advice, I'm going to zero in on that emotional aspect again. It's just, don't be afraid to not make things if you don't like them, and really just try to be yourself on camera. And faceless or not, whatever. It's the only way you're going to do that, though, is by making videos, because you're going to be so in your head over time that eventually that mask drops, and you realize you can't keep track of every weird thing you've done, and you have to let it go. You have to let it go. So you might as well let it go today. And have conversations with your audience. Try to be descriptive. Try to visually represent what you're doing, and always try to go back to that topic. What am I trying to tell these people? Do I have something to say here? And just don't be afraid to be yourself. I know a lot of people think like, oh, I don't want to get canceled or controversial, whatever crazy stuff's happening in our world. Think about all the people that are getting in trouble all the time and you forget about them a week later. You're going to be fine. It's okay. There are mean comments. You got this. I got it. It makes me mad sometimes, but I move on. And I just really want to give you encouragement to just let go and just dive in and just do it. Stop worrying about having a $10,000 production setup. Stop worrying about all these other things and just really dive in, be yourself, be authentic, have something to say. That's the first and foremost thing I would try to tell people. And you got this. You can do it. Anybody can do this. This is a learnable skill. It really is.
Let's go, man. Spoken like a true coach. You're even pumping me up, Alex. Thank you for your time today. And hey, if you're fired up, you're listening, and you got any kind of value from this conversation, would you let us know? Just like, rate, share, review, wherever you watch or listen. This is the Think Media Podcast. I'm Nathan Eswine. I can't wait to connect with you in a future episode.